Measuring our worth against someone else's highlight reel feels like a modern symptom, but this specific psychological trap is ancient. Thousands of years ago, two sisters named Rachel and Leah were locked in a zero-sum game of self-worth. Two women forced to define their entire identity by how they compared to the other. Their story takes place in the ancient Mesopotamian region of Haran. This was a world where women were treated as commodities, and men held near total economic and social power. Rachel was the cultural ideal, instantly desired by a fugitive named Jacob, who pledged 7 years of hard labor just for the right to marry her. Contrast that with Leah, the older sister, who spent those years living entirely in Rachel's shadow. This environment set a dangerous psychological baseline. For one sister to be validated, the other had to be overlooked. Their father, Laban, saw an opportunity to exploit Jacob's devotion. On the wedding night, taking advantage of the darkness and the heavy bridal veils common to the era, he secretly swapped Leah into Jacob's bed instead of Rachel. Jacob discovered the trickery the next morning, but it was too late. Laban then leveraged the situation, demanding another 7 years of work before Jacob could marry Rachel a week later. This created a devastating before state for both women. Leah had the husband she wanted, but he was disgusted by the sight of her. Rachel finally had her wedding, but her sister had already occupied her first place. They were now trapped in a toxic vacuum, one passionately loved, the other painfully tolerated, setting the stage for a lifetime of bitter comparison. The dynamic shifted when Leah realized she was highly fertile. She quickly gave birth to her first 3 sons, Reuben, Simeon, and Levi. The names she chose were desperate pleas for her husband's attention. Reuben meant see, a son. Simeon meant heard, and Levi meant attached. With every birth, she was documenting her hope that Jacob would finally see her value, but biological success couldn't cure her husband's emotional distance. Jacob provided for her, but he didn't love her. On the other side of the camp, Rachel faced a different agony. She had Jacob's heart, but her womb was closed. She had to watch Leah's children fill the space she wanted to occupy. This chart visualizes patriarchal security. In this society, a woman's long-term survival was strictly tied to producing male heirs. Even though Jacob loved her, Rachel's social status was incredibly fragile without a son. The pressure finally broke her. Rachel confronted Jacob in a fury, screaming an ultimatum that revealed the depth of her despair. "Give me children, or else I die." Their lives had become perfectly inverted mirrors. Leah had the children but starved for love, while Rachel had the love but starved for status. The rivalry soon bypassed biology entirely. Rachel weaponized ancient legal customs by giving her servant Bilhah to Jacob, attempting to build a family by proxy. She named her surrogate son Naphtali, which means my wrestling. The choice signals a psychological Cold War, where children function as scoreboard tallies in a battle against her sister. Leah immediately launched a countermove, offering her own servant Zilpah to Jacob. Her goal wasn't just to have more children, it was to maintain her numerical advantage in the household. This tension reached a climax during the wheat harvest. Leah's son found mandrakes, a rare root that ancient people believed could guarantee fertility. Rachel, desperate for a biological child, begged for the roots. Leah's response revealed decades of stored trauma. "Is it not enough that you have taken away my husband? Would you also take away my son's mandrakes?" In the end, they treated intimacy like a transaction. Rachel bartered a night with Jacob in exchange for the roots, and Leah paid for her husband's time. Both women had commodified their existence, reducing their bodies and their marriage to mere currency in a bid to prove they were the more valuable wife. Rachel eventually won her biological victory with the birth of her son Joseph. But in this triumph, her first reaction was to ask for more. Joseph translates to "may he add," showing that the void created by comparison was bottomless. But while Rachel reached for more, Leah began to let go. When her 4th son was born, she made a quiet internal shift. Instead of naming the child after her desire for Jacob's love, she called him Judah and declared, "Now I will praise the Lord." She stepped out of the arms race, finding validation outside of her sister's shadow. The tragedy of their lives is that they spent years looking horizontally at what the other sister had, making them blind to their own value. The historical irony of this story is significant. God used this broken, toxic system as the foundation for an entire nation. This tree tracks Rachel's line through Joseph, who saved the region from famine. But Leah's legacy is larger. Her bloodline, through Judah, brought forth the Messiah. The 12 tribes of Israel emerged directly from this fractured system, 2 women struggling for a seat at the table. Ultimately, Rachel and Leah's outcome suggests that a person's significance isn't determined by whether they were the first choice or the sister in the shadows. True value isn't found in the mirror of someone else's life.